It's Thursday, November 7, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Sutnandan, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. Suriname hands over Guyanese fishermen wanted for deadly piracy attack. Salary increases a must, bonus not provided for in 2019, says Finance Minister. Enthusiasm not matched with action to protect Guyana's oil, says opposition leader. Schumann's Liberty and Justice Party likely to go it alone at the 2020 polls. And COI finds excessive speed was used by police in vehicle in Friendship accident. Over to you, Whitney.
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, and now for a look at regional and international headlines for today. Today it has been named Day of Action for Immigrant Day Workers by the New York City Mayor. All but Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister cleared up financial impropriety allegations. A man charged with a hate crime against Peru-born U.S. citizen. Ontario assessing the effects of climate change on its economy, and two North Korean fishermen accused of killing 16 crew members. And now sportscaster Kingsley Bryan with today's headlines in sport.
Thanks, Whitney. Now for a look at some of the stories we'll be covering in tonight's Sportscast. Devon Thomas's century powers Hurricanes to register their first win in the regional Super 50. And we'll also tell you that the SHC and the GBTI GTC pull off wins as junior hockey kicked off at Cash. And in international sports, NFL team the Buccaneers promotes undrafted player blind in one eye to their active roster. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. Now for a look at the news. A statement from the Guyana Police Force has noted that 13 persons have been taken into custody as part of a police operation that has broken up a car stealing ring. The operation was carried out in different locations in Kurukuru along the Suicide-Linden Highway. According to a police statement, the operation was intelligence-led and unearthed 3 motor cars, a number of car parts, a motorcycle, 5 generators, and the shell of a minibus. Investigators also found weeding machines and other items that are all suspected to have been stolen. The operation took place on Wednesday, and since then a number of persons have come forward to identify their stolen property. Additionally, some of those arrested have already confessed to the crime. The investigations are ongoing and charges are expected to be laid shortly. There has been much talk about the prospects for Guyana's new and emerging sector, the oil industry. But opposition leader Barrett Jagnew feels that the enthusiasm about getting into oil production is not matched by optimism with the action of the current government to protect Guyana's interests. Speaking at his weekly press conference, the former Guyanese leader said while the IMF has predicted that Guyana's GDP will increase by 86% next year, and will likely continue to increase with the many benefits to all Guyanese, it may sound good, but that may not necessarily be the case.
We have seen economic growth without job creation. And the oil and gas sector is one of those sectors which is capital intensive, which produces very little direct employment. So we could possibly see a steep growth in our gross domestic product. And the 30,000 jobs we lost already, we're only going to get like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 new jobs. So we'll be net worse off in terms of jobs, even if our economy, the economic growth rate is high.
Jagnew says there is a mistaken view that there is a correlation between growth and revenue to the Treasury. He made reference to the tax arrangements worked out in the contracts with various oil companies.
This government should be ashamed now. And it's highly insensitive of Hess to say the things they've been saying. But this government should be ashamed that when they say to their shareholders, watch out, when you're addressing their shareholders, watch out for a windfall a massive increase in cash flow to the company, and we will use that to compensate you. And the reason why we can expect this windfall is that the deal we have in Guyana, that the government will get a share of profit oil, maybe about 12.5%. And out of that share of profit oil, they will pay our taxes, all of our taxes. So we don't have to pay any tax. The government will be paying our taxes for us from their share of profit oil, which is a small share already. This is what has just told their shareholders. So their shareholders will expect a windfall, and Guyana will be paying from our share of the oil, a small share that we're getting. We'll have to pay their tax obligations.
The opposition leader also pointed to a recent interview where President David Granger stated that there was no proper infrastructure in place to deal with the oil sector left by the PPP administration. But according to Jankview, despite all the advice and consultancy, the coalition government has not managed to do anything with it.
This government has an obligation to do so. It has not done so. There's no local content legislation. They're not looking out for our people. And so every time I hear about these large numbers and people talking this up about this windfall and Guyana getting wealthy, it's a few people who are getting wealthier. The companies have a lopsided agreement, we already know that. But there are things that could be done by us to ensure that more of this revenue flows back to our people. And this government is sleeping, incompetent.
That was opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo speaking at his press conference earlier today. Meanwhile, well-known Guyanese Dr. Karl Hanuman, popularly known as Dr. Max Hanuman, died on Wednesday evening at a city hospital while undergoing medical treatment. Dr. Hanuman, who hailed from New Amsterdam, Berbice, started his medical career as a laboratory technician at the Georgetown Public Hospital, where many years later he would become chairman. In the early 1970s, he moved to Canada to read for a degree in molecular biology. He was later denied an opportunity to study medicine at the University of the West Indies. Nevertheless, he persevered and later studied medicine in India. Upon his return to Guyana in 1979, the young Dr. Hanuman was placed at the Georgetown Hospital and worked in the area of obstetrics and gynecology. He later went on to serve as president of the Guyana Medical Association and also lectured at the University of Guyana before eventually becoming the director of the School of Medicine in 2002 and remained there until 2010. He also served in the National Assembly as a member of parliament. Dr. Hanuman was also instrumental in putting measures in place for the University of Guyana to secure international accreditation from the Caribbean Accreditation Authority for Education and Medicine, other health professions in 2009. In 2016, he was conferred with the Cassie Crown of Honor, CCH, for his long, dedicated, and outstanding work in the medical field. His last post was chairman of the board of directors at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. President David Granger, in a statement today, said he is saddened to learn of the death of the veteran medical doctor and friend. The president said Dr. Hanuman would have served his profession and fellow Guyanese with distinction. President Granger expressed heartfelt sympathy to his wife, children, and relatives. In other news, Minister of Finance Winston Jordan on Thursday indicated that he will soon be announcing salary increases for 2019 for all public servants. The increases are expected to be retroactive to January of this year. In a brief statement issued by his public relations office, Jordan said, and I quote, "There's no provision for a bonus this year or foreseeable future," but added that the salary increases will be announced soon. Further, it was noted that what the government is trying to do is to rapidly bring salaries and other benefits to a level that befits jobs. The disclosure was made after President David Granger, when asked about a bonus for public servants, on the sidelines of an accreditation ceremony on Wednesday, relayed that Finance Minister Jordan will have to advise the cabinet on that issue. The government offered bonuses to all public servants in 2015 and 2016, but over the past few years, it has been offering retroactive salary increases, which the finance minister is on record as saying that the move is more fiscally prudent. As the government continues to make internet access available to all Guyanese, a brand new ICT hub was officially commissioned in Rosal Town on the East Berbice Quarantine. On Wednesday, the ICT hub marks the 58th such facility in Region 6 and over 200 nationwide, including over 70 to hinterland communities that never had internet access before. The venture was a collaboration between Roots and Friends of Rosal Town and the Ministry of Public Telecommunications through the National Data Management Authority. The building is housed at Williamsburg, Rosal Town, and is equipped with 9 computers, and another 12 more will be added soon. The building and stations were provided by the Roots and Friends of Rosal Town USA chapter, while the internet access has been provided by the NDMA free of cost. Also, a number of books and stationery supplies was handed over to the local chapter of the organization that will be the custodians of the facility. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Ghana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Do join us after these messages for more news.
Amros Travel Service is a certified travel agency located in Trinidad and Tobago. We offer travel solutions for companies, individuals, and groups, including airfare, tours, packages, hotel accommodations, cruises, car rentals, honeymoon vacation, and much, much more. Our travel professionals are on call, ready and able to assist you with all your travel needs. Need to book that flight right now? Give us a call. Shaguanas at 1-868-653383. Valpark at 1-868-645-1604. Port of Spain at 1-868-625-0800. Or San Fernando at 1-868-652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amros is the way to go.
Thanks for staying with us. We continue tonight's news by telling you that days after their arrest in neighboring Suriname, authorities there have handed over the 2 Guyanese fishermen who were wanted in Ghana for the deadly attack on a fishing vessel that left 4 fishermen dead. The 2 wanted men, 22-year-old Anot Udraj of Belvedere Quarantine and 21-year-old O'Brien Fraser of Eversham Village Quarantine, were handed over to local police on Wednesday. They are now being grilled in connection with the piracy activities and the murder of fishermen Vishnu Siram, Marvin Tamasar, Lamar Petri, and Ajay Kisoon. The bunk bodies of Siram and Kisoon were discovered when they washed up on the seashore in Berbice. The bodies of the other 2 fishermen are yet to be recovered. The 4 fishermen were attacked while at sea in early October during their fishing trip. They were chopped about the body, then tied up and dumped overboard. The 3 other fishermen have already been charged in connection with the murders. Leader and presidential candidate of the Liberty and Justice Party, LJP, at a press conference hosted by the party, stressed that the party will not coalesce with the governing coalition, APNU, to contest the March 2, 2020 elections unless the collaboration is in the national interest. The statement comes on the heels of disclosures by both parties that they were engaged in discussions with each other. It was established that leader of the LJP, Lennox Schumann, held discussions with the leader of APNU, President David Granger, on the possibility of the LJP joining the partnership. Schumann had initially stated that his party's intention is to hold dialogue with all political players, and the governing coalition happens to be one of those players. At that instance, he said, the only party that did not acknowledge the request for a meeting was the main political opposition, the PPPC. He detailed that a missive requesting meetings with all political parties planning to contest the 2020 elections was dispatched. Prior to that meeting with the president, the LJP met with all the other small parties. He also accused the PPP have sent in its agents for a backdoor meeting, which was rejected by the party. However, at a press conference on Thursday, leader and presidential candidate Schuman said the party has decided against coalescing with the party in the run-up to the March election. Schuman relayed that the Liberty and Justice Party represents what we call a balance in this country, and along those lines, we are going to be heading into the elections of 2020 as the Liberty and Justice Party, not as an appendage of any party, not in coalition with any other party, and that is in line with our constitution and a motion carried last night of which we had all the members present and only one absent. Schuman repeated that the meeting with the APNU was not for the sole purpose of coalescing, but focused on how political parties can work together for the advancement of the nation. President Granger on Wednesday, when questioned on the progress of those talks with the LJP, said those talks has not progressed since the last address issue. He noted that the APN remains open to other parties to be part of what he calls an inclusive movement. The LJP also relayed that the party intends to contest the elections in all 10 administrative regions of Guyana. With local content policy final draft completed and the necessary feedbacks solicited and received, the Department of Energy is now moving apace to have the actual policy finalized. More in this report from Kingsley Bryan.
Director of the Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Bino, said with the necessary consultations completed on the final draft of the local content policy, the department is now moving towards the finalization of the said policy. Dr. Bino said, as it relates to that, the ESO Exploration Company is presently collaborating with the Council for Technical and Vocational Education Training, TVET, on implementing 2 pilot programs to build capacity in the technical institutions.
These are expected to be in New Amsterdam and Linden. These pilots are projected to commence in Q1 of 2020. An emphasis will be placed on slinging and rigging, scaffolding, welding and fabrication, flange and borehole expertise, static training, facility maintenance, etc.
The Energy Department had continued that information coming out of the last local content report demonstrated that the energy sector has already been contributing largely to the local economy.
The last local content report indicated that over 1,300 Guyanese are currently employed in the sector. Additionally, since 2015, over 300 million has been spent by EEPGL and its co-contractors on Guyanese contractors and service providers.
Given the role that the Council of TVET is playing in the molding of young Guyanese, Dr. Bino said that the department is seeking to enhance their capacity building activities.
The Department of Energy is working with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Education under an Islamic bank loan on a possible reverse linkage project to enhance capacity within TVET institutions to service the oil and gas sector and the existing and emerging sectors in Guyana.
The department had noted that government continues to build partnerships with separate oil companies, namely Tullow and CGX, to develop their local content plans as well.
We were encouraged by the recent 5 million Canadian donated to the University of Guyana from CGX for the building of the capacity of the lecturers at that institution. We welcome more of these types of initiatives.
Government's failure to prioritize the implementation of a local content policy forthwith has been criticized by several stakeholders, who noted that owing to a lack of appropriate regulation, Guyana remains vulnerable. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Kingsley. This morning, workers of Albion Estate again dung tools as they heighten their call for a pay rise this year. The workers contend that it is far too long that they have been without any pay rise, while the cost of living, it has generally been accepted, has risen significantly in the last few years. The sugar workers remain the only group of workers who have not gotten a cent as pay rise since the coalition government took office. Declines in the real and nominal incomes of sugar workers have been a most difficult pill to swallow for the workers and their families, Gao said in a statement. According to the union, these workers pointed out that the coalition has promised to increase state workers' pay this year, and they said it appeared a bonus also may be paid at the end too. They said too that they are not resenting the workers who really are deserving of an increase and much more. Despite the current challenges, the workers at this time remain hopeful that something could be done to really alleviate their situation. They look to those in authority to consider their plight and seek to assure the situation of their families as they stare impoverishment in the eyes. The union added as well. The Commission of Inquiry into the Friendship East Bank Demerara Public Road accident, which claimed the lives of 5 persons, has been completed, and speeding by the police vehicle was excessive, President David Granger has told members of the press.
And I have written the Commissioner of Police, and perhaps you can meet with him. I don't want to tell you what directions I've given to the Commissioner, but there is clear evidence that the police vehicle was driving at an excessive rate, which was not necessary at that time. It wasn't part of my convoy. It was not necessary at that hour of the morning. The road was clear. There were no obstacles. And again, I don't want to name names, but there is an element of culpability there. And the Commissioner of Police will take action in that regard. As you can see,
the head of state noted that Police Chief Leslie James has already initiated action in terms of certain enforcement of traffic regulations, and he expects there will be greater vigilance not only now, but especially for the Christmas season and beyond.
I deeply regret it. It was a great tragedy, and if I can say so, it is an accident that ought not to have happened. But the police have been warned, and I expect that there's going to be more care, not only for human life on the roads, but also care of the vehicles. But we were deeply concerned about the human life, and as you know, I got there before the bodies were cold. Got on the scene, so it was personally very distressing for me too.
Surveillance cameras captured the accident and showed the speeding police car slamming into a private car that was traveling in the opposite direction. A member of the Ghana Defense Force was the driver of the private car, and he also died. A presidential guard who was a passenger in the police car and a woman who was a passenger in the other car were the only survivors of the smash-up. We will now take a short commercial break. Do stay with us for regional, international, and diaspora news with Whitley Prasad at our New York studio. Please stay tuned.
Travelspan is a proud sponsor of Globespan 24x7 News. Travelspan has some cheap fares to Guyana on American Airlines flights. Fly from January for $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. Take advantage of these cheap fares on American non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana. That's non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana starting as low as $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. And also has the cheapest fares for Christmas that starts as low as $799 round-trip. Travelspan celebrating 25 years in business with over 10 offices to serve you. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. Book early and save.
Thanks for staying with us. Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, and now for a look at the news and details in the diaspora. Today has been named a day of action by Mayor Bill de Blasio's administration to inform day laborers, including immigrant workers and the construction industry, about the upcoming December 1st deadline for workers and supervisors to obtain site safety training as required under Law 196 of 2017. This announcement was made by Jose Bayona, Director of Community and Ethnic Media in New York City Mayor's Office. The Day of Action will direct city agencies in partnership with the day laborer organizations to conduct outreach to day laborers, including immigrant workers. Bayona said to holistically engage workers, outreach will be conducted on workers' pick up and drop-off locations in all 5 boroughs at various locations. Meanwhile, Buildings Commissioner Melanie LaRocca said every worker who leaves for the job site in the morning deserves to come home safely at night, which is why safety training is so important. And the preliminary findings by Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, TTPS, have all but cleared Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley of any wrongdoings in relation to allegations of financial impropriety. Reports said that during his contribution to the budget debate on October 9th of 2018, Member of Parliament Dr. Rudalal Motilal said he visited banking institutions in Miami where he retained emails and documents which revealed Rowley received funds from the A&V drilling fake oil scandal. He called out banking account numbers and named Dr. Rowley and former People's National Movement candidate Vidya Deokisingh at yesterday's weekly police meeting. At yesterday's weekly police media briefing, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith said when the matter was brought to its attention, the TTPS launched an investigation immediately. Meanwhile, the mayor of a small town in Bolivia has been attacked by opposition protesters who allegedly dragged her through the streets barefooted, covered her in red paint, and forcibly cut her hair. Patricia Ager of the government Mass Party was handed over to police after several hours of beating. This attack is the latest in a series of violent clashes between government supporters and opponents in the wake of the controversial presidential elections. So far, 3 people have been reportedly killed. And police in Wisconsin recently charged a man with a hate crime after a Peru-born U.S. citizen had acid thrown in his face and was told to go back to his country. Reports are that the 42-year-old man suffered second-degree burns to his face in a dispute over a parking spot in Milwaukee. The accused, Clifton Blackwell, 61, is charged with first-degree reckless injury in a hate crime using a dangerous weapon. The injured man, according to reports, became a U.S. citizen in 2013. According to the complaint, the victim had parked his car outside a restaurant and was walking towards the entrance when Mr. Blackwell approached him. Mr. Blackwell allegedly shouted at him, quote, "Why did you invade my country?" and "Why don't you respect my laws?" end quote. He then reached for a metal bottle containing the acid mixture, according to the complaint. Security camera footage from outside a restaurant shows the victim arguing with Mr. Blackwell, who throws liquid in his face. An investigation was launched. Ontario has said that it is looking to assess how climate change will affect the economy, the environment, infrastructure, and communities across the province. The Progressive Conservative government has so far put out a tender looking for bidders with expertise in impact assessment to work on the 2-year project. The Environment Minister says that data gathered will help the province and local communities plan their infrastructure to mitigate climate change risks, and government says a severe ice storm in April 2018 resulted in $190 million in property damage, and less than a month later a windstorm caused $380 million in damage. The Tories have been blamed by environmentalists for scrapping Ontario's cap and trade system to reduce greenhouse gas emission and opposing the federal carbon tax. And police revealed that the identities of 39 people found in a refrigerator lorry last month have all been formally identified. As it relates to the investigation, Essex Police had been working with the Vietnamese officials to identify the 31 men and 8 women found dead in Grays, Essex on October 23rd. A series of files have been handed to the Essex Senior Colonel Carlin Baisley Murray. The force said it wanted to give families time to take in the news before making the names public. The victims came from Vietnamese provinces, according to the police report in the country. The bodies were found on the Waterglade Industrial Estate after the container had traveled to a nearby lake in Belgium. The driver of the lorry from Northern Ireland appeared in court last week, charged with a number of offenses, including 39 counts of manslaughter. And the former Congolese rebel leader has been sentenced to 30 years for war crimes and crimes against humanity. The leader, named Terminator, was convicted on 18 counts, including murder, rape, sexual slavery, and using child soldiers, and the judges at the International Criminal Court (ICC) found in July that fighters loyal to the leader had carried out gruesome massacres of civilians. The sentence is the longest the ICC has handed down. In July, a 3-judge bench found him guilty on all 18 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in the mineral-rich northeastern region of Ituri between 2000 2002 and 2003. Prosecutors had said he was key in planning and running operations for the Union of Congolese Patriots (UCP) rebels and its military ring, the Patriotic Forces for the Liberation of Congo. And two North Korean fishermen suspected of killing 16 fellow crew members before fleeing to south have been handed back to the north. Police said the two crossed the maritime border on Saturday and were later detained by authorities in the south. South Korea usually grants asylum to defectors, but said that in this case the two men pose a threat to national security. They were treated as criminals rather than defectors and sent back after crossing the border on their squid fishing boat. It took 2 days for South Korean Navy to seize them. According to media reports, the two confessed that they and another man killed the captain in October because of his harsh treatment. They then killed the other protesting crew members one by one, and the bodies were dumped overboard. And that has ended regional and international news for today. Let's now join Kumar Doshi for tech news at our studio in India.
Namaste, salam and good day to everyone. This is TechBeat on Globespan 24x7. Today, let's look at some of the emerging technologies in livestock industry. To keep up with the upcoming demand of 9.8 billion people of 2050, it is going to take a lot of innovation. Studies show that $10.1 billion was invested in agricultural food technology sector. A raft of new technology is already being deployed on many UK farms to help improve labor efficiency, give insight into animal health and behavior, and make better use of inputs. Livestock is domesticated animals raised to produce commodities such as meat, eggs, milk, fur, leather, and wool. Here's a look at some of the emerging technologies used in livestock industry. The first one is ventilation system in farms. Air conditioning in farms has significantly evolved. The old fans are now a thing of the past. Today, the goal is to improve as much as possible the farm's environment to increase animals' well-being. This helps to adjust fresh air flow and temperature to optimize comfort and climate for the livestock. This keeps the livestock healthy and comfortable in the stable. It is also a key factor to maintain livestock as a viable business. The flow of fresh air, temperatures, and CO2 levels, etc., need to be monitored and balanced according to the outside weather conditions. Electric actuators solution moves inlet valves, ventilation dampers, and cover lifts in any part of the stable, sending back applicable feedback to the system. The automated camera system is also emerging. This camera operates under various light conditions and connects directly to the farmer's computer, tablet, or smartphone, where it issues relevant warnings. The system that relays the information is based on probes located below the feeding trough, providing valuable information about the animal's condition in regards to solid and liquid nourishment. Radio frequency identification, or RFID, will help identify cattle. These devices have electronic numbers that will be unique for an individual animal and link the animal to a database. Electronic ear tags, injectable transponders, and boloses with transponders inside the reticulum are the latest technology for animal identification. Automated feeding is a major step in livestock technology. This system will feed the livestock automatically with a precise amount of food and nutrition. The milking system is also evolving. The milking robots equipped with sensors to detect the sign of mastitis, which measures and the many characteristics of abnormal milk pH, somatic cell count, milk acidity, milk conductivity, etc. Systems also can be used in milk specification of the system, such as parlor performance, milk efficiency, etc. These are just some of the technologies that is in the development, which would help the livestock's health. That wraps up for today's Tech Beat for today. I'm Kumar Doshi, bringing tech news from India. Back to our studio in Guyana for more news to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Kumar. And now for a look at what's happening in the world of sport with Kingsley Bryan.
Thank you. Now for the details of the news in our sportscast. Devon Thomas contributed a massive ton that helped steer the Leeward Islands Hurricanes to a crushing defeat of defending champs Combined Campuses and Colleges (CCC) by a massive 199 runs when the Regional Super 50 bowled off on Wednesday. When play began in Basseterre, St. Kitts, the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, who batted first, demonstrated control and aggression early in the game, as their top-order batsmen placed decent scores on the table, to have them end at a whopping 292 for 7 at the end of the 50 overs. Former West Indies wicketkeeper batsman Thomas stepped up to the batting plate for his team, with a contribution of 105 from just 94 balls, made up by 10 fours and 1 6. He got the eventual support from Windies opener Kieran Powell, who struck 4 fours off his 30 balls, while Amir Jagnu hit 39 with 4 boundaries and a 6, to lead the inexhaustible batters list. CCC bowlers did well to keep the wickets falling, but it was a relatively ordinary outing, with Larry Joseph starring with 2 wickets for 26 runs from his 10 overs. The chase was horrific for CCC, who were knocked over for 94 in 31.3 overs, owed much to the efforts of the West Indies all-rounder Rakeem Cornwall off spin, which yielded figures of 4 for 21, restricting the champs in their chase. The all-rounder picked up 3 huge wickets, those of openers Romain Morrison and Guyanese Askia Prasad, who both departed for 2 runs apiece, along with the dangerous Paul Palmer, who was bowled for 6 runs. Jal Narayan Seals fought back with 39 as his teammates fell short almost in consecutive style. Thomas, for his century and sterling performance, was adjudged man of the match. And we'll tell you that the Guyana Cricket Board, GCB, and Cricket West Indies CWI Kiddies Progression 1 cricket competition continued, with matches in Georgetown and the East Bank districts. In the Georgetown district matches, North Georgetown emerged champions of the zone after beating Win for Guidance by 62 runs. North Georgetown Primary batted first and secured 168 for 2 from their allocated 14 overs. Openers Delon Ray and Kareem Caesar added 52 for the first wicket, before Caesar was dismissed for 18. Ray then put on a further 88 for the second wicket, with Samuel Barcoy to steady the innings well. Ray made 56, inclusive of 10 fours and 2 sixes, while Barcoy scored an unbeaten 41, inclusive of 6 fours. In reply, Win for Garden could only muster 106 for 7, chasing a target of 169 runs. Shane Prince struck 2 fours and 2 sixes in a top score of 29, while Joshua Reed made 11 as Caesar took 1 for 1. Bowling for North Georgetown, Ray took 1 for 3. Play continues in the tournament. And the round-robin stage of the 6th annual Guyana Hockey Board Junior Indoor Hockey Championships hit off last night at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall on Homestretch Avenue, where the Saints Hockey Club (SHC) and GBTI GCC registered victories in the opening matches of the Farfan and Mendes Under 16 League. GBTI GCC Spartans dominated the YMCA Old Fort 10-0 in the first girls division match, with Abu Said Cadogan swatting 4 goals, while Madison Fernandes and Haley Carpenter assisted 2 each in the rout. In the following match, SHC Supreme beat SHC Sensations 2-1 in the girls division. Charlie Webb and Mariah Sigobin netted 1 each for the winners, while Danrani Megu scored for the Sensations. The first Farfan and Mendes Boys Division class witnessed SHC Silencers hushing the GCC War Dogs 3-1. Baraka Garnett smashed home 2 penalty corners after Nikuma Hudson had opened the scoring for the victors. Jonathan Bissoon scored a consolation for the War Dogs. The championships continue today up until Sunday, with matches from the under 10 to under 21 categories being played. And in international sporting news, Kazing Daniels believes he can serve as an inspiration for children. The football player, who lost vision in one of his eyes when he was only 5, has been promoted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers active roster. Daniels, an undrafted free agent of the University of Charleston in West Virginia, lost the use of his right eye, when he ran into a pole while riding his scooter around the block near his grandmother's home. He called the experience traumatic, but that didn't stop Daniels from excelling as a defensive player. Daniels was named second team NCAA Division II All-American in his senior season at Charleston. He played 40 games and finished his collegiate career with 161 tackles. He said, open quote, "I feel like my story serves as a huge inspiration for kids who are very impressionable. They are and they see a superhero and they say, oh, I want to be just like that superhero. For people with disabilities and things like that, I'm just their voice. For people to say, Cousin Daniels has one eye and he's doing great things. Why can't I do the same things?" End of quote. Daniels was waived with an injury designation during the team's final preseason roster cuts after he suffered a knee injury in August, which precluded him from returning to the Buccaneers until mid-October. He was resigned to the practice squad on October 17 and has now been promoted. Linebackers Karl Hanuman and Anthony Nelson were injured during Sunday's game against the Seattle Seahawks, which prompted the team to promote Daniels and sign linebacker Sam Ako. And that has brought us to the end of our sporting news for today. Join us tomorrow as we continue to keep you updated on what's happening in the sporting arena. Back to you, Samuel.
Thank you, Kingsley, and that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before you go, here's a recap of our major headlines. Suriname hands over Guyanese fisherman wanted for deadly pirate attack. Salary increase is a must. Bonus not provided in 2019, says the finance minister. Enthusiasm not matched with action to protect Guyana's oil, says the opposition leader. Schumann's Liberty and Justice Party likely to go it alone at 2020 polls. And finally, COI finds excessive speed was used by police in friendship vehicle crash. Thank you for watching Globespan 24x7 News. On behalf of myself, Whitney Persott, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a great evening.